Hello, my name's Demi Cochrane. Today I'm here with Richard Sullivan, Deputy Editor of one of the largest selling newspapers throughout Ireland and Northern Ireland, the Sunday World. Hello Richard, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
First of all, what first led you on your path to journalism?
It's something I've always wanted to do, even from a kid. I've always just been fascinated by the whole newspaper industry in particular. And it's just something I always wanted to do, and I was single-minded in that pursuit of that, and I've been very fortunate, and I've ended up doing what I always wanted.
What aspects of your job would you say you enjoy most?
I think the best aspect of the job is meeting people, the variety of work that we do, travel as well. If you're lucky enough, fortunate enough to do international work, which is fantastic, very rewarding. And also just simply getting a story right and exposing, particularly in the Sunday World, the work that we do, and exposing wrongdoing and exposing criminal gangs and that sort of thing. Investigative journalism is what we specialise in.
Yeah. The Sunday World focuses mainly on investigative media and often exposes facts which are very personal to readers' lives. How do you feel about this?
Well, the way we work is that we very much mirror what our readers want us to do. So we're nothing without our readers. So we don't dictate the agenda. Our readers dictate our agenda. They come to us with problems, stories, issues, and very often we're their only voice. They're people. You know, the politicians don't listen enough. There's not enough feeling that their views are being represented. So yes, and we take that very seriously because we do a lot of stuff that's very personal. You know, bereavement, threats, personal security. And our staff take that very, very seriously because it does impact heavily on people's lives.
You work in such an intense newspaper. How does this affect your life outside of the office?
Well, it's one of those jobs that you live and breathe it, and it's not a 9-to-5 job, and certainly it does. You need to be very careful because it can affect your whole life. And it took my wife many years to get used to the phone calls that come through at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, which they still do.
Would you say you have any key interests outside of work?
Well, I think it's very important that people do have interests outside work because work can become all-consuming. Having a family, a young family, obviously takes my time up as well, but it's important to relax, and I do have a lot of other interests. Sport, I love reading, I love travel, so those sort of things that I employ to unwind and get away from work.
It's over a decade since Martin O'Hagan became the first reporter to be murdered by paramilitaries in the UK. As a member of staff at the Sunday World, do you feel under threat by this?
I mean, that hit us all very, 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 very hard. I mean, thankfully, Marty was an absolute tragedy. Thankfully, he's been the only journalist that has been murdered in the course of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. But we live with that threat, and staff we've been collectively threatened and individually threatened. Our lives have been threatened a number of times. So yeah, that's there, but that's the nature of the work we do, and our staff are very, very aware of that. The shadow of Martin's death hangs over us, and in many ways inspires us and drives us on, because Marty would have wanted us to continue to do this work, the sort of work that we do. So we're now anxious, but all our energies are focused on getting the people who did it behind bars. And
lastly, as a budding media student today, is there any words of advice you would give me on getting into the industry?
That's the $1,000,000 question. Yeah, I mean, it helps obviously if you've got to be enthusiastic, and you've got to be persistent, and you have to be not to be afraid of knockbacks. Obviously a good education, but what you need to do is just put yourself out there. That's the best way of getting into the business, and forcing the issue. Coming up with story ideas. It's the old-fashioned way. It's one of those very few industries that still sticks to the old values, and that come up with a story, and that's your first step on the ladder.
Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today, Richard.
No problem.
I'm Demi Cochrane. Back to the studio.